Everything you need to know about products and services that can improve your life. This is Experts on Call on CL 650.
Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
And welcome back. This is Experts on Call on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Thanks for being with us today. We are talking about insurance, and joining us in the studio from Intact Insurance, we have both Patrick Magnuson and Wendy McCracken, along with Andrew Tablotny of Laguerre Pelling Insurance. So our conversation today has been about general insurance, and in particular, some of the myths associated with insurance. Let's get back to some of the general questions when it comes to home insurance, and these are questions that have been sourced from your clients and from social media. So is it a myth that buying insurance online is always cheaper than buying it face-to-face with a broker?
It's a myth insofar as you might save a few dollars, but are you well served by that process? Buying shoes online is great. You buy them, you send them out. If it doesn't fit, you send them back. Well, you can't send your insurance policy back. If you have a claim, that's what you've got. You don't say, well, gee, I'd like to send it back. I'll buy the comprehensive policy now because I know I need it. It doesn't work that way. So when you buy something, you're entering into a contract, and you need to make sure that you know what you've got and what coverage you've got. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, when the Calgary floods were on, there was TD sells an online product, and there was a lot of people in Calgary who were saving a bunch of money on their policy. They're saving $100, maybe even $200 a year. But then they had the big flood, and they suddenly found out that the TD had included in their wordings that if water comes in through your sewer backups, through your sewer, and there's a flood is occurring, that they won't cover it.
So that was the fine print that these people who bought online hadn't seen, right. Well, hadn't been aware of.
They have no idea. I mean, an insurance policy is tens of pages long. People aren't going to go through and read every little fine thing, and are they even going to understand what it says in that case? So at the end of the day, TD was getting getting beat up so badly on social media that they actually paid out $200 million out of their own pocket to pay for claims because they were just getting hammered. And so the people thought they thought before the claim they had a great deal, but they found out afterwards that it wasn't such a great deal.
So the bottom line is, sure, you could probably save a few bucks by buying your insurance online and directly, on the web. But dealing with a broker is a lot more personalized, and you have a lot better opportunity of understanding that comprehensive
and asking questions, right, of the broker, and getting you're going to get an independent opinion as opposed to you buy direct. Even if you talk to somebody there, that person you're talking to works for that insurance company. So are they going to tell you, yes, you should be seeking retribution against the company because they should be covering this? They say no, that the claim's not covered. Do you say, well, can I get a second opinion? No, you can't. When you've got a broker, you say, well, is that really, the insurance company said I'm not covered. You think that's right, and you get an answer from your broker. I'll give you another example. A few years back, in the United States has been, UK has been huge on direct sales, and the US now is following, Canada is now following direct sales as well. But back in New England, there was one insurance company that was selling online for tenants and condo policies, and they were just making money hand over fist because what was happening is the people were somewhere along the line weren't answering the questions correctly, and they were just denying claims left and right. And so these people ended up going back to brokers because they couldn't understand why they weren't being covered. But meanwhile, the insurance companies were making a ton of money at this.
You had to go back to the human to fix it, right?
Right.
I would add two other points. I mean, first off, insurance rating is complex, and you may miss some discounts or some credits that you're eligible for if the broker's not there to point them out or isn't aware that some markets are offering something that you may qualify for. You might be online and you're only getting one option, but because you have some sort of characteristic, like let's say it's an installed backwater valve. Well, the broker may know that there's a few companies that provide credits on the sewer backup because there's a backwater valve. So they may be able to get you a better deal than what you have online.
Mm-hmm. It's not cut and dried. It's not like one package fits all.
It's not a shoe.
You're comparing apples to oranges.
It's not a shoe.
Yeah. And to build on the point that Andrew said, I mean, the broker works for the customer. They don't work for the insurance company. I work for the insurance company, but in the brokers, one of the benefits they bring is they can be the customer's advocate. So if there is a gray area, if there is some complication, the broker can be there to sort of work as a middleman between the insured and the insurer to try to clarify those issues and make the process whether it be a claims adjustment, whether it be maybe a policy reinstatement because there's been a cancellation for non-payment. They're there to sort of to work for the customer.
I just had a call the other day from a referral, and the lady called because she said she'd been in hospital and her policy had been canceled by CDI, which is the direct writer, and she ended up phoning me. She says, I've been phoning them and I can't talk to anybody. Nobody will call me back. I can't get a live body. And so,
help.
Help. What can you do something for me? One other thing I wanted to bring up, the ICBC or the government just recently had announced that they were looking at costs. We're looking at a 5.5% increase in basic rates because the liability claims have gone up 10% from year over year. So the minister announced that they're looking at direct sales with ICBC, and I kind of just shake my head. I mean, Alberta, which next door to us, they have private insurance, and e-insurance recently did a survey. I mean, Alberta is known to be one of the most tech savvy provinces in Canada in terms of online direct sales, and they did a survey of their clients, and they found that 70% of the people felt that they in discussing their insurance that they felt they were in the dark. They really didn't know what was going on. The survey also realized survey showed that 46% said they didn't understand all aspects of their auto insurance, and at the same time 44% had no idea how a driving infraction or an accident would affect their rates. So, and there obviously wasn't anything in there telling them how these things were going to impact them or what was there. So people weren't reading every little stitch that's on the system and reading the wordings, because that's what you rely on your broker for, is to understand it. You want to know the basics, but if and when a claim comes, you want to be able to have somebody that you can talk to that's going to represent you as opposed to the insurance company.
That's right. The broker ends up being your expert, your advocate. Right?
Yeah, insurance is a complex product. It's not a commodity.
And it's not a shoe.
Yeah. That's right.
Right. So in the next show we're doing is actually on auto insurance. So there'll be a lot of discussion in terms of what I mean, home insurance is complex, but auto insurance, personally, I mean, it used to be that auto insurance was when you hired somebody to work in your business, the first thing you do is throw them in at the front and said sell auto insurance. But it's become so litigious, and the amount of options and the variables are just as more complex than home insurance from my perspective.
And it's a lot different today than it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about the myth that if I'm not at fault, I shouldn't have to pay?
That's a tough one when it comes to property. That's the way it works with auto. But when it comes to property, the vast majority of time, you are not at fault. You're not at fault if there's a hailstorm. You're not at fault if there's a windstorm. So the vast majority of times when it comes to property, you aren't at fault. But you are responsible, and ultimately the insurer is still paying, and as we talked earlier, that will impact your claims-free discount unless you have a product like a claims-free protector or a lifestyle advantage.
Well, I've been in the business for 35 years. I can remember back when there used to be a $100 deductible. I mean, now, as I say, now I generally sell a $1,000 deductible to most of my clients because the insurance companies are discounting that premium to encourage you to take the higher deductibles, because most of your claims are under smaller amounts, so they just as soon not have to deal with it and give you the money up front. But too often people were using insurance as like a maintenance contract. So when something would go wrong, well, I'll just put something through on my insurance, and that's
need a new floor, or,
right.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where the insurance companies just couldn't afford to pay that, and so the rates had to. So either the rates go up significantly. So do you want to pay more now, or you pay less? So the deductible is your way of contributing to the overall insurance claim.
So I'm just going back to Patrick's point here. If I'm not at fault, I shouldn't ever have to pay. And in regards to property insurance, can you give us an example of where you could be at fault? You gave us the example of saying, a hailstorm or something, or you're not at fault for the property. But
for sure. Well, I mean, there's the most common one when it comes to is with liability. So if you don't shovel your walk, and the mailman, while we still have mail service, which I guess we have now still.
Today, at least.
Exactly. Yeah. So if the mailman slips on the ice, then and hurts themselves, well, then you'd be responsible for that. Or like we said, if you're at the ski hill and you run into somebody, you're responsible for that. When it comes to property things, if your kid is throwing a baseball around the house and throws a baseball through your window, well, obviously that's somebody's at fault for that, but you're still going to get paid.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What if you've got a swimming pool in your backyard, you throw a big pool party, somebody falls into the pool and they get hurt? It's back to liability, right?
Yeah, that's back to liability. So as long as you have a policy that has a liability section, yes, you would have coverage for that. We do suggest that you talk to an insurance broker or provider, though, just to make sure you have enough protection for that.
Mm-hmm. So at that same party, everybody comes out of the pool and they tramp through the house and trash my carpet. Is something like my damaged carpet covered?
Yeah, we actually run into these claims quite often. And yes, you would have coverage under the homeowner's policy, providing you have a comprehensive or a broad coverage. But, again, best bet, talk to a broker and just make sure you have the right coverages in place.
I'm going to have to try to get invited to some of your parties.
Let it be said, I don't have a swimming pool.
Okay. One claim you got to, one issue we get we've seen claims is, for instance, dogs that urinate on the carpet. And people say, oh, well, I want to replace my carpet. But what happens is that it ends up being multiple claims, so there's multiple deductibles. So if the dog, happens to pee in 6 different spots, and now they're saying, well, I want the whole carpet replaced. Well, the insurance company say, well, you've got 6 different deductibles.
6 different events, yeah.
Six different events, so you're
Oh,
paying
my
your deductible
goodness.
6 times. So sometimes people get upset about it. They say, well, but it's just the one dog. But you have to look at the actual event that
Sure.
occurred.
It's the number
That's
of
right.
occurrences, yeah.
Interesting. That's a very good point. Okay, and what about the insurance against alien abduction? Any comments?
Yeah. Well, you can't actually be insured against that. There's a fellow named Mike St. Lawrence. He's president of the UFO Abduction Insurance Company in Altamont Springs, Florida. He started this coverage about I think it was 1987. So they charge a one-time fee of $9.99, and they'll pay you $10 million if you can prove that you were on board an alien ship. So they've actually paid out some checks for it. So, but there's a hitch. They only pay you $1 per year for 10 million years, because they don't want you to have any kind of tax ramifications from the insurance policy. So
Let's be clear, this is not being included in the Lifestyle Advantage endorsement.
From Intact. Well, I'm glad we ended on a light note. You are listening to Experts on Call on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. In our studio today are the insurance experts, Patrick Magnuson from Intact Insurance. We have Wendy McCracken, a unit claims manager from Intact as well, and Andrew Tablotny of Laguerre Pelling Insurance. We've covered a lot of ground today. I think all 3 of you have helped debunk a lot of myths about the insurance industry and the best course of action for our listeners to take right now, should they have any questions.
Well, you can certainly call my office at 604-276-2474. We're more than happy to answer any questions or.
And your website, Andrew?
And it would be LaguerrePelling.com. It's LeguerrePelling.com.
Thanks for joining us, Patrick and Wendy as well. And if you want information about Intact, you can go to their website, intact.ca. Thanks to you for listening today on Experts on Call. Hope we were able to answer a couple of questions for you. I'm Joanne Sutton on CL 650.